Hey everyone, this video is going to walk you through how to change the brake pads and rotors on your Gen 1 Toyota Tacoma. We have step-by-step directions on the website too, so you can print those out after you watch the video. Here's a picture of all the parts and tools I needed, and I'll put those in the description below. Consider wearing a dust mask when you're doing this. You don't want to breathe in carcinogenic brake dust. And make sure you chock your tires. Pop the cap off your brake fluid reservoir. And loosen up the lug nuts on your wheels, but don't take them off just yet. Here's the spot where I like to jack up the front of the truck. Make sure you use jack stands. Now we can get those tires off. Make sure you use some brake clean those brakes down, get all the dust off, put a pan underneath to catch the drippings. You're going to want to do this. Let it dry. And then here are the two bolts you're going to need to take your calipers off. Give them a little squirt of PB Blaster, loosen them up. They're going to be tight. Let it sit on there and then start working on the front brake. You want to turn the wheel out, and I use needle nose pliers to take off this little retention pin, and then using a punch here and a hammer, knock off these two pins. Now watch that retention clip there. It's under a little pressure on the top. You see where I've got my finger on it? Yeah, that sucker can pop right off, so just make sure you hold that as you're pulling the pins out, or do what I did, just yank it out so it doesn't fly in your face. Get those pins out. Now using some channel locks, I press down both sides of the pads here. Gives you a little more room so you can get those pads out. Now they just slide right out. These weren't too bad, but I wanted to change them out, so here we are. The next one out. Take a look at them, just make sure you don't see anything weird. Alright, with a 17mm socket, we'll take the caliper off using a breaker bar. These suckers are under a lot of tension, so get on there good. PB Blaster helps here a lot, so give it time to soak in. Alright, got a 12mm socket. There's this brake line retention clip here. Get that off so when we move the caliper assembly, they're not putting any pressure on the brake line. Backing out the bolts of the caliper. I leave them in. That way I don't lose them. Then I take the whole assembly and hang it. You don't want to put tension on the brake line. So wrap up the caliper assembly. Make sure it hangs somewhere on a coil or somewhere. Alright, now we can get the rotor off, the old one off, and clean in between here. Get all any dust or dirt off that might be there. That way when the new one gets on, it'll sit nicely. Mine are pretty clean. Put the new one on. Grab a couple of lug nuts just to hold this thing down. Hold it in place when you reattach the caliper assembly. Make sure you don't drop it. Don't mess up your brake line. Get it in the right position. Get your bolts back in. Alright, get your torque wrench out. Set it to 90 foot-pounds. Yep, 90. And torque on those two caliper bolts. Get them nice and snug. Alright, get some disc brake quiet. That's what I used. Make sure you don't get squeaky brakes. You want to put it on the metal shim part. Make sure you put that on the outside towards the pistons. You don't want to get that stuff anywhere on your rotor. Be generous with it. Oops, not that way. There you go. Make sure you don't get any on the brake pad itself or any on your new rotor. Now that your pistons have been retracted, they should go in pretty easy. There you go. Clean off your pins a little bit with a wire brush. Make them go in a little easier. Put them back in and make sure the pins go through the holes that are on the new brake pads. Lock them in there. Use a rubber hemp mallet to get them in. Put your new retaining clip on. And watch that tension. Oops. Should have put that in before the bottom pin. There we go. Get that pin in. Make sure your holes are aligned for your retaining clip here. Sometimes you have to use a needle nose pliers to move your pins around or to help get that wire into the pin. And don't forget to reattach the brake line clip there. Let's go around the other side. Yep, hose it down with brake cleaner. Get it good and wet in there. Let it dry out. Now you can start working on your retaining pin. Using needle nose pliers makes this a lot easier. And with your punch and your mallet, take your top and bottom pin out. Don't forget the tension on that spring. Let that thing fly at you. See? Grab it. Now you're good. Alright, get your channel locks and push the pads against the calipers here. Give yourself some room to get those pads out. You're just depressing them. This is why, by the way, you took the cap off of your brake fluid reservoir. You're putting too much pressure on the system. And if you have an assistant, have them help you out. This is a good spot for them to do it. Oh, we forgot to put PB Blaster on those bolts before. Let's do it now. Give it a minute to soak on there. While that's soaking, let's get this brake clip off. And using your breaker bar, get those bolts off your caliper. And strap up your caliper again so that it doesn't fall down, and put tension on the brake line. Take your old rotor off. Clean up in there so you get a nice seat. You put the new one on. Install the new one. Put a couple of nuts on there to hold it down. Reinstall the caliper.
Wow.
90 foot-pounds.
Can I do the wrench?
Get your buddy to help you. Brush off the pins. Here are the pads I use. They're from Duralast. Got them at my local auto parts store. Put some more of the brake quiet on there. Make sure they're facing the right direction, the pads. Don't do what I do. Whoa. There you go. Get it the right side. Yep. Here's the new bracket, or what do you call this thing? Retention shim. Tap the pins in. Get the wire in there. Make sure it's all nice. cap back on your brake fluid reservoir, then push the brakes down a couple of times, make sure you got the system primed. That's it. Thanks for watching. The parts list is in the description, and check out our website at thetacomagui.com.